we opened up the actual cage with it because the snake would ride on the tour bus with us, and so Alice's assistant opened up the cage, and there was just an electric cord sticking out of the snake's mouth. And here's the crazy thing.
He is the one and only Ryan Roxie.
Yeah.
Hello, how you guys doing?
We're good. How are you?
Well, I'm not drinking coffee, I will tell you that much. I'm on a different time zone.
Speaking of which, the first thing we have to say is välkommen och tack så mycket for joining us.
Wow, look at you. Your Swedish is way better than mine.
Get this, I only spent 3 weeks there. And that was 10 years ago.
Now, what was that for? Did you meet a guy in a band, or did you?
I wish. No, I was. That was actually in grad school.
Aha, great. Yeah, well, tons of great schools out here in Sweden. And,
well, it was more for. I'm part of a. It's a. How do I put this succinctly? It's a company that is for the youth. That you together in 3 weeks. They write and produce and perform an entire full-length musical themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you gauge the quality of that musical? Was it right up there with Hamilton,
or
was it
actually
more
bilingual?
Oh, okay.
So
multi-language as well.
It was fabulous. It was actually that particular year. It was about Da Vinci.
Okay.
Not Swedish, but interesting. All right. So
I love it because growing up in high school, I don't really talk about it all that much because I usually talk about playing guitar in high school. But during those high school years, I was a drama geek. You had a band, you had band buddies, or what would you call I was in the marching band. I was kind of like in sort of a bunch of different quirky sort of sets, and I actually was a jock too a little bit. So until I got cut from the baseball team, but I played baseball all through growing up until high school, and then the real guys, the real sort of athletes started kicking my ass in baseball. But then I still hung around them, but also hung around the marching band, played marching timpani. But one of my favorite sort of cliques was the being a drama geek, because and I did. I remember. I think it was Othello. Isn't that a Shakespearean play?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a huge role, and it wasn't multi-language or anything like that. But I did. It was Old English. I guess that is sort of like a different language, Shakespearean.
Iambic pentameter, yeah.
So I had a small role in the high school play of Othello, I believe it was. Or was it Tartuffe? Cool. I think it was Tartuffe.
Ooh, Moliere.
One or the other. Yeah, it might have been that one as well.
Ooh.
Both. There you go.
So, did you ever get the opportunity to do any musicals?
No, I did not. I've always wanted to do an updated version. In the early 2000s, when I was playing with Slash's Snakepit, I actually made a bunch of demos that during that time, I was also listening to a lot of techno music. All right. This is, I'm talking about things that I really never talk about in any sort of interviews. This is a great interview already.
Thank you so much. We're so prepared.
The thing is, though, I actually came up, Rod Jackson was the singer of Slash's Snakepit, great vocalist, one of the best vocalists I've ever worked with. But I loved his voice, and I started thinking about doing sort of a modern techno, but heavy guitar. Like this band, like a good example would be that band Lords of Acid.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that band.
Wow.
Something with heavy guitars, but heavy techno drums version of Jesus Christ Superstar. And we actually did a few demos of it. And yeah, I mean, because just that riff, it was just, it lends itself to like heavy techno, and it was a cool time. And unfortunately, it never completely got off the ground. But like I had the cast all sort of set up in my head. I actually wrote down Scott Weiland was going to be one of the key players. I think was he going to be Jesus, or was he going to? No, he was going to be Judas.
Judas, okay.
Scott Weiland would have made a good Judas, I think.
That would be amazing.
Ryan,
there you go.
my favorite musical of all time is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah. And I called it JC 2000. That's I think was what I was calling it, because it was in the year 2000. So I was right around the late 90s, early 2000s. So I was planning it, and I do a lot of that. A lot of times is plan a lot of things in my head. Sometimes they become realities. Sometimes my dreams become realities, and sometimes my realities become dreams. Isn't that sort of a Willy Wonka quote? That's it's right. It's lifted right from Willy Wonka. It really is. Which is another one of my favorite. I don't know. It's got to be the 70s version, but the 70s version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is definitely
the Gene Wilder one.
Of course.
One of the conventions that Danica and I work for recently did a reunion with a lot of the children from Willy Wonka, and
really?
Okay, it's crazy.
I know that one of them became like a veterinarian. One of the guys, because I went down that rabbit hole. Every once in a while you go down the YouTube rabbit hole and go, let me research everyone. What's Veruca Salt doing these days? Well,
Yeah, and, they all seem to be doing great. So
I think Charlie. I think the guy who played Charlie in Willy Wonka, the young boy, he became a veterinarian. Don't quote me on it. Maybe our chat will confirm or deny that. I'm not sure, but
let us know, chat. Please confirm or deny.
And I'm seeing, thank you guys, by the way, for showing up in the chat. I see a bunch of you there. I actually see the producer of my own podcast, In the Trenches, Vic Chalfant's in the chat, and a bunch of the great regular viewers of In the Trenches. Thank you guys. I still am a drama queen. Yes, that is true.
Well, I know. Go ahead. Sorry,
my producer would know. No, my producer would definitely know.
So, one of the things that we wanted to kind of mention, even just starting, and you're shouting out all of your fans, you have people here from all over the world that are joining you today. So do you have a favorite country or city to visit when, the world is back to normal and when you're on tour?
Wow. Well, you kind of put me in an impossible position, because you said people from all over the world are watching.
They're all watching. They want to know.
What is your favorite?
They want to know, right?
Alienate the rest. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll quote one of another favorite movie of mine, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I think Damone said it best when he said, wherever you are is the place to be. So, and if you know about Damone, there was a great rock band, and I'm not sure if they're still together or not, called Damone as well. And I really like them as very cool, like sort of, a little bit punky, but it's kind of sleazy rock, and it did cool band. But wherever you are is the place to be. So I'm looking at our chat right now, and I am seeing a bunch of different states and cities and countries all represented there. And whenever we're there on tour, they make us feel so at home and so welcome, whether it's with Alice Cooper, or whether we're doing maybe a side gig off of Alice Cooper with Goon Squad or something like that. Those folks right there that are in the chat right now, they make us feel so at home that we don't want to leave that place until the next day. And then we're in the next place that makes us feel very welcome. That's one thing about being part of this Alice Cooper family, is that it truly is like becoming one big sort of caravan, and one big sort of, cult of personality, perhaps.
Love that. Okay, so I want to talk about something that happened recently. You were stranded on a boat. Is that what happened? Were you stranded, getting ready to go to a gig?
I made all the major news networks for all the wrong reasons, I guess, because it wasn't the gig. I mean, the gig was actually rather small, but I took it because we're musicians and we need to play. And 2020 has given us a big FU to live performance. It's basically just said, no, you're not going to play this year. And so when those opportunities come up, you take them. And this was going to be probably my fourth or fifth sort of solo acoustic gig of the year. And it was going to be, I think, probably it for the rest of the year. So I wanted to do it. So it wasn't an easy one to get to. It was a ferry ride, or like they have these things called the Viking line. Some people call it the puking line. It's more like drinking sort of drinking cruises. It was like they go over, they'll leave Sweden, they'll go over to Finland so you can drink all night and then I think have a hangover the whole next day. So it's basically just back and forth. And
college.
And liquor is cheaper on the boat and there's duty free and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't going for that reason. I was basically taking a 6 or 7 hour boat ride to get off the boat and play the gig and then take 6 and 7 hours to come back. So it was literally, 14, 15 hours of travel for like 1 hour, 1.5 hours of show. But I still felt I really wanted to do it. But, whatever forces of nature, Mother Nature, who's again pulled a lot of things this year on us, it said no. And Mother Nature basically blew the boat I was on, ship. It was like one of those love boats, like a big cruise, fit like 2,000 people on it. There wasn't 2,000 people when we were on it because it was very nobody's traveling these days. But there's about 400 people on the boat total, and it blew the entire boat onto the land. And the next thing you know, they're saying, well, we're not going to get off. And we were literally maybe 500 feet from the dock. So that was kind of like, it made me believe that like there's forces beyond my control working for me not to play this show. So I ended up not playing the show, spending the night on the ship, coming back, and you can read all about it in BBC and CNN. And actually, I think it made the CNN ticker, which would have been only the second time I've made the CNN ticker that's of something I've been associated with. I think the first time was when Alice Cooper's snake swallowed the electric blanket in its incubator. And we opened up the actual cage with it because the snake would ride on the tour bus with us. And so Alice's assistant opened up the cage, and there was just an electric cord sticking out of the snake's mouth. And here's the crazy thing: it was plugged in. So he gently had to unplug it. So what they had to do is they had to perform surgery, and they had to actually take surgery out and actually surgically remove this blanket from the snake. And hopefully the snake made it. Last we heard, the snake made it, but I mean, yeah. I mean, have you ever swallowed an electric blanket? I mean, it's probably not
readily.
Yeah, I can imagine its after effects linger.
Yeah, I've never been that hungry, but the day is young for us here.
And that was the second time. That was the first time that I saw it on the CNN ticker, and that was basically PETA actually giving Alice Cooper a bunch of crap about it, because it's not the first time Alice has been in trouble with animal rights organizations that is not really his fault. The famous one is the chicken incident, and I don't know if you guys know about that, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so who knows what the chicken incident really happens? It's like shrouded in mystery and an enigma. It's so I stopped asking questions years ago about it.
Yeah, fair. I feel like that's one we got to talk to Shep about. True. Kind of to circle back, what is the music scene like in Sweden?
The music scene in Sweden, the musicians are killer. I've been lucky enough to play with some of the best musicians in the world, and a lot of the bands that I've been able to be associated with here in Sweden, they just always impress me with they really take it seriously, the sort of study of what type of band they want to be. I'm not sure if you've heard of this band Casablanca that I was in. Casablanca. We made 2 albums together. The band has made 3 albums total. Anders Young, amazing singer, amazing front man, but his knowledge of all the bands that we wanted to sort of take little parts from this band, a little part from this band, and make it our own. They study it so well. He's got a record collection, a vinyl collection of about 10,000 vinyl, right? So he's got such a great repertoire to choose from. And I remember when we were writing for that album, we would go over to his house, his small apartment, which was basically his apartment was basically just a record bin, because at that point, 10,000 records, you couldn't see anything else but vinyl. And he'd pour a glass of wine with everybody in the band there, and we'd all sit down and have a glass of wine, and he'd say, listen, let's take 5 albums tonight that we can like sort of study, listen to, and say, what can we bring out of this band that we can put into Casablanca? And so I remember that. And it's always impressed me with Swedish musicians, with just how good they are at so many different styles of music. Because when you think of Sweden, you can think of dark metal, you can think of indie pop, you can think of, kind of like new metal, and you can also think of just straight ahead rock and roll, and ABBA at the end of the day too.
We love ABBA. Yeah, Danica and I used to work for Radio Disney, and we would only perform ABBA songs, which doesn't necessarily go over with, the younger 12, 13-year-old crowds, but
I think that would be timeless. I would think an ABBA. I mean, I know that at one point there was a band out of Sweden here called the ABBA Teens.
A-Teens, yeah.
A-Teens. Oh, yeah.
I got to interview them for Radio Disney.
Well.
I mean,
back in the day.
Now they're considered probably classic rock, if not older. But yeah, the A-Teens are no longer teens. But at the same time, I remember, I believe, and again, the chat can correct me on this one if I'm wrong, I believe that the A-Teens and Alice Cooper did a version of School's Out. I'm going to say that.
Is that right?
Is that crazy?
That's things we're learning. The
ABBA is, I think a black metal band doing an ABBA song would be killer, and that's a good suggestion, Mike. I think that should actually happen. I mean, one of the most to me the best constructed songs of all time, not just just because it comes from Sweden, but ABBA wrote this song called SOS. And I've covered that song a few times. If you just look, if you can take there it is. You got the melody right. And the construction of that song is just so well put together. That SOS is one of my favorite sort of arranged songs. And the other one is Surrender by Cheap Trick. I think those two songs have like such great arrangements that, I've been trying to rewrite them for years. I haven't accomplished it yet.
See, Danica, I think our fault was we were singing "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme." That wasn't the right way to go. No, that's not the one. That's
Especially
not
Ring, Ring, Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. Yeah, those ones. Yeah, you got to go for those. Waterloo's a good one. Dancing Queen works. Waterloo was the one that got him the. I believe Waterloo was the one that won the
Eurovision.
The Eurovision. Yeah.
My. All right, fair enough.
My is probably another ABBA song too.
It probably is. If not, they're writing it right now. Danica?
Well, I kind of wanted to ask a little bit more of a Swedish question. So,
Sure.
do you follow any Swedish traditions? Like, do you do your Fika every day? Do you celebrate Midsummer? Like,
Wow.
What's a
That's
fika?
the thing, because
Fika is
a
tea time.
go ahead.
Okay. Tea time.
It's a coffee
Okay.
break. Yeah, it's basically a time that you can. Yeah, it's basically just an excuse to have a cookie and a coffee. And fikas are not just once a day. Sometimes people have multiple fikas. I've had jobs before where pretty much the majority of the time was fika.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the traditions that I kind of do and don't, because I'm married now to a girl from Cape Town, South Africa. So, she has her own traditions in South Africa, but she lives up here. So we're two English speaking people. But I have two kids from my first marriage, and they're Ameriswedes. So at their mom's house, they speak Swedish, and they go on all the traditions. They do Midsummer, which is kind of it's not the movie, folks. If you have watched
it's not. It's lovely.
But that movie's a great movie. I love it.
It's fantastic.
If you get a chance to see Midsummer, that's not really the way it goes down. It possibly could outside of Stockholm, but it's not the way it goes down in Stockholm. But again, Midsummer is probably more of a drinking holiday. It's probably more like we would akin it to Thanksgiving, where you just eat a lot of food, and you eat a lot of food, drink a lot of drink, and you sing a lot of songs, and usually ends up in some sort of argument with your family or something like that. I remember that happening as well. So that's usually Midsummer. But the things that the tradition that I would never follow is they eat sill. It's like a fish and drink, and follow it up with schnapps, which is like this really hard shots of liquor. So those two things, this could not. I can't do that tradition. But like I said, my kids do they have a lot of the Swedish traditions, but then they come over here, and then they have, like, yesterday or the day before we had Thanksgiving, and my wife cooked some turkey and all the good stuff. She's an amazing cook. So, and I ate pretty much an entire pecan pie.
Ooh,
is that great?
It's appropriate.
There you go. All right. So you mentioned before Cheap Trick, the song Surrender. Out of curiosity, do you have a favorite guitar riff of all time, or what do you consider to be one of the most legendary guitar riffs of all time?
Wow.
I know it's a lot. And
that's a great question, because there are so many great guitar riffs out there. The ones, I have a couple of my own favorite ones that I wrote and was able to put on record and release. So I'm satisfied with a few of the riffs that I've been able to write over the years. But if I have a go-to guitar riff, dang, you can't go wrong with so much of the stuff that Eddie Van Halen wrote and recorded over the years. Unchained, just that riff, just the Running with the Devil chord change, anything pretty much off of Van Halen 1 or Van Halen 2 were like memorable riffs. Wow. Brian May is one of my favorite guitar players from Queen, so his riffs are really great. But to be honest with you, the things that I completely always go to are parts and little solos that I can hum, and to this day. And so I find those guitar players, to me, and a lot of those guitar players, I feel might go a little bit below the radar, a little bit underappreciated, because maybe they weren't writing these huge on top of guitar riffs, but their supporting parts basically made the entire band, made the entire song. And I'm talking about a guitar player like Neil Giraldo from the Pat Benatar Band. Like, all his guitar parts are just like class. They're just such great parts. Elliot Easton from the band The Cars. The Cars had so many great songs, but if you think about those guitar riffs and those guitar hooks and those parts, they always complemented the song and made the song better. Steve Stevens from the Billy Idol Band, just another one of my all-time heroes. And like I said, maybe not household names. They're household names to me and to most guitar players, but maybe not in the mainstream the way Edward Van Halen and Brian May are, but still not just as important as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we wanted to ask you a little bit about your teaching and mentorship. So what is your favorite thing about being a teacher? And also, can you fill the folks in a little bit more about the System 12 guitar method?
Wow, thank you very much. Well, the cool thing is most of the people that I'm seeing are in the chat are actually part of the RGA, which we call the Roxie Guitar Army. So I see a lot of the people taking the System 12 in the chat, and I appreciate them each and every day, because the whole point of this is for me to take all the years of experience, all the sort of situations that I've been lucky enough to be in because of music, and all the things that I've learned, all the little shortcuts and hacks that I've learned from being able to be associated with all these different bands and musicians. I've been able to borrow some of their tips and tricks, and now I'm sort of passing that torch of guitar knowledge on to the, whoever wants it. I always say pass the torch of rock on to the next generation. I actually borrowed that term from a band I was in years and years ago called Sweetwater. They were out of Seattle. Great band, made a great album called Super Friends, but they had certain sayings that they would say. They were kind of like this quirky bunch of Seattle dudes, and they had almost their own language. So I definitely have borrowed some quotes from them over the years, but passing the torch of rock was one of them that I've done and that I've tried to do with System 12. And basically what System 12 guitar method is, it's 12 lessons that basically get you on your way to playing guitar, from the point of you've never touched a guitar before to the point where you might already have a lot of knowledge playing the guitar, but you don't feel like you have that foundation. So what System 12 does is provide you with, I think, everything you need, that springboard to knowledge, to learn the guitar, up to the point where you kind of can springboard off of it and start teaching yourself on YouTube and teaching yourself, basically for free. Because at one point, I feel that paying for lessons and mentorship is important, but at one point, you need to take that journey on your own, and you need to sort of learn yourself. And that's when, it doesn't cost money. It just costs you time to learn guitar. And now you have so many tools with YouTube, and you have, 1,000 other guitar players that have that song that you want to learn already have posted something on YouTube. The only problem is so many of us as guitar players don't have that basic foundation of, okay, what are all my, 5th string, 6th string bar chords? What are my 12 notes? Where are they all over the neck? Basic, general things like, how do I see the guitar neck? It's much simpler than you think. And System 12 guitar method sort of solves all those problems, I think. So if you're into it,
I should do that.
Yeah,
I play guitar.
Yeah.
But, it's been 15, 20 years since I took lessons.
Yeah, same.
Well, This is cool. This is a good time to do it, because we just, coincidentally enough, as we start this podcast, we start this weekend, we start a thing called the System 12 12-week guitar challenge. Now, for the next 12 weeks, what we're going to do is the whole System 12 team, two of the guys, Robbie Miller and Dave Rattenberry, have made a whole bunch of videos that each week we will release a video that gives you sort of like a personal trainer's guide of like, okay, this is lesson 1 of System 12. Here's all the little tricks that you can do to get the most out. This is what you should watch for. And we're basically getting as many people as possible to start the System 12 this week and follow along with us for the next 12 weeks. But you can join anytime you're ready. Come on and join us, because we're there. As you can see, we're a happy bunch in the chat, and everybody's pretty supportive of each other, because the whole idea too is built around support for one another. And so when you have the balls to upload a video of your progress, then you're going to get love and not shame from
Fair enough.
That's very cool.
Well, maybe it'll
maybe you'll get some constructive criticism, but it's always going to be for the benefit and positivity.
Yeah. Maybe it'll finally give me a reason to take off my nails so that I can go back to playing guitar, because these do not No. it
Rule
doesn't
number
happen.
one is the nails got to go. And I've played with a few female guitar players now at this point. And actually, in that band I was telling you about, Casablanca, female drummer Josephine Forshman, great drummer. She was in a band called Sahara Hot Nights as well. A lot of people might know that band, but no fingernails for her, no fingernails for Orianthe, no fingernails for Nita Strauss. So yeah, if you're the thing is, I mean, I know a bunch of guys that like to grow their nails long as well, but when you're playing guitar, that it doesn't. It's not the most. It doesn't work for whatever reason.
Not conducive, really. Unless you're playing the banjo, and then you've only got them on your dominant hand.
Yeah, well, I'm not playing the banjo, Danica. Okay, Ryan, what is the craziest gig that you've ever turned down?
The craziest gig I ever turned down. Wow.
Something that was just even too extreme for you.
I don't think it's ever been too extreme because I mean, I jumped in a band with Slash and Slash's Snakepit at the height of. I mean, that was decadence. That was we were kind of like, taking our lives in our own hand every rehearsal day because rehearsal was supposed to start around 12 noon and then go on into the night, and we did that 5 days a week, sometimes 6 for well over a year. And yeah, it was pretty decadent. So, and I accepted that, wholeheartedly. I mean, very crazy time of my life, but at the same time, I survived to talk about it and, tell about it. And we made an album called Ain't Life Grand that I'm really proud of. And I think, it would be nice if more people could check it out. Every once in a while, they put it out on Spotify and then it disappears and it comes back out.
Aww.
But Ain't Life Grand is one of those albums. But the bands that I've actually turned down. I'll tell you this story. There was a band, it wasn't that because it was dangerous or anything like that, but there was a band that I was we were talking to each other about joining right at the same time I was doing the Alice Cooper audition. It was a band called The New York Loose, produced by amazing producer Jerry Finn. Bridget West, I had done some demos with her in New York, and then we moved out to LA. The New York Loose, cool, like sort of punk Blondie, if you will, But the thing is, I remember not doing, because I was put in this position of like, okay, well, am I going to go, be associated and join this new band that had a lot of record company hype? I think they had, like I said, Jerry Finn produced their record at that time, and Jerry Finn had done Blink 182, Green Day, just like he was like on fire as far as a producer. And it was either being in this band that had a lot of industry hype or this guy, Alice Cooper, who was going out on a 1-year tour that, he didn't know if it was going to last for more than 1 year. And I was put in this position of like, well, which would, and something in my gut just said, you know what? Go with Coop. I know the numbers don't, like if you looked at it in a realistic way, you say, well, why wouldn't you go for the younger band that seemingly has a much longer trajectory of career? And I said, there's something about Alice because he's a legend. He's an icon. And I didn't know he was going to end up touring. He hasn't missed a year since 1996. Even like I said, by doing our tour earlier this year of Australia and New Zealand, we kind of sneaked by and said we did an Alice Cooper tour because we actually did do a tour in 2020. It was very short, and it was in Australia and New Zealand, but we did do it. He has not missed a year of touring since 1996. So anyone that thought his career was going to not have longevity back then completely bet on the wrong horse. And I bet on the right horse, because what ended up happening to that band New York Loose is their tour bus caught on fire.
Oh no.
They literally went on tour and their whole bus burnt to the ground on the road. And like they were lucky. It was one of those situations where, one of the band members woke up and they got everybody else out, but they literally escaped the bus at the last second, and they were able to sit on the side of the road, or whether the parking lot. I don't know the exact details, but they watched their tour bus burn to the ground. So I was thinking, well, I was not on that tour bus, and
thank God. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Bet on the right horse.
Yes, you certainly did.
Well, speaking of Alice, of course, we have to talk about Mr. Cooper.
Okay.
But so we know that Alice Cooper has this tradition of his pre-show ritual is throwing knives. So we're wondering if you have any pre-show rituals that you like to do.
Oh, wow. Well, Alice has a couple ones. The knives have come around more recently. I'd say more in the last 10 years since I started playing, because I took a bit of there was a break between 2006 and 2012 where I didn't tour with Alice. And basically when I came back, then I started noticing him having more of like these throwing knives, and then every year it would get bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden, band members' pictures would start showing up. And I think actually he did a good number on when I put my solo album out, Imaginary Reality. I think he did a really good promo for it by putting me on the dartboard at one point, or on the knife board. But before that, and it's still to this day, he still does it. He watches kung fu movies, those really cheesy 70s kung fu movies. And that's something that people might think is urban legend, but no, it happens every single day before a show that he does that. So those are his traditions. Mine, I think recently at least the last 6 to 8 years have been the rock and roll parking lot, where I go out and I meet the crowd before a show, because I really think, it's important to sort of gather in the energy and see, what's the vibe of the crowd tonight? Is it good? Or is it positive? And these, there's so many people that have come from different towns, and some of the people that come see us are traveling with us. So it is sort of like, okay, what's the mood like tonight? It's a tailgating sort of thing. And some towns it gets even crazier than others. Some towns they set up their own outside guillotine, and they set their own electric chair. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there's like one of the coolest like tailgate parties. They have like basically a whole row of Alice Cooper executioner gear, and so it's sort of my tradition to always go out and at least shake some hands and say hello to people before the show. And which is a lot of people, I guess they would do it with meet and greets now. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I mean, I understand the meet and greet as well, but for me, it was just, always something where I was getting sort of hyped up in energy, before the show, that it was good for me because it was giving me energy before the show. And I really loved doing it. Kind of really kicked into gear a lot when we did the Motley Crue tour, when Alice and Motley did the final Motley Crue tour, which who knows if it's going to be actually final at this point.
Right.
You never know. But but for 2 years we were able to play some of these, bucket list arenas and places, and I never wanted to like go, what place did we play, and I didn't get to walk around it, because these are all the places, all the venues that I sort of watch basketball games on, watch hockey games on. I wanted to walk around. I wanted to see what it was like and really take it in. And so that's why a bit of this rock and roll parking lot started, because I would meet people and I say, well, I'll walk around the venue and I'll find a place where we can all meet and hang and take some pictures or sign some stuff or just chill and hang. And then I get a sense of what that arena was like. And now it's just, it doesn't matter if it's a theater, an arena, or a stadium. It's or a club for that matter. I just like feeling people's like sort of energy with that.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. Danica, why don't you say we each ask one more and then we'll go to the game.
I was gonna suggest.
There's a game.
We have a game.
Oh, is there? So. Do you have any, we touched on this a little bit, but do you have any of your own personal kind of weird holiday traditions? And, how is celebrating in Sweden a little different than in the US?
Well, Halloween's just started to kick up a little bit, and then it kind of went away. Halloween had always been my favorite sort of holiday and tradition and stuff. But what's been happening the last few years is that my wife and I hold an annual Super Bowl party.
Ooh.
And
Ah.
because but here's the thing. The Super Bowl doesn't start until 12:30 in the morning, past midnight, on that Super Bowl Sunday. So you have to pull an all-nighter. The game usually ends about 5 a.m., but the games have been so great, and the people that we invite over, it's not that they don't like football, it's just that they're uneducated about football. Because I always say that, if Europeans knew the rules about NFL football, I think they'd be really, really into it, because the general gripe is that there's too many breaks and there's too many commercials and this, that. And that is true. There are a lot of breaks, commercials. But if you can sort of break the game down into strategy and what, the coaches are doing with the type of players that they have, and then you actually know the penalties and the types of plays, it makes the game really, really exciting. So we've done it now for what? Last 6-7 years, we've had a Super Bowl party, and 2 years ago I couldn't do it because I got delayed on a flight coming back from Greece, and I ended up watching it in a airport hotel in Frankfurt or somewhere like that in Germany. But other than that, we've done it consistently every year. And my wife makes all this sort of American classics. She'll but she puts her South African twist on it and stuff. And it's a fun sort of experience, because we really get to educate a bunch of Swedes about football, and they're into it, and we get to pull an all-nighter on a Sunday for no reason, because it isn't really a holiday yet, right? Is Super Bowl Sunday a holiday in America yet?
Not federally, but maybe we're getting there.
I think that Monday should be off. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so many kids call out of school.
Yeah, we need to recover, yeah. I'm sure everyone watching already knows, Ryan, but who are your teams? Who do you want to see make it to the next Super Bowl?
Oh, come on. I'll let the crowd really say it. No, it's very easy. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Nice. And it doesn't matter if it's Las Vegas or Oakland or Los Angeles. I always say being a Raider fan is more of a state of mind than it is, a city. It's big. The Raiders are bigger than just one city. How about that?
Oh, that's cool.
That is all right.
I have to be fans of theirs now because my husband is from Vegas. So I'm already a Golden Knights fan because it's the only hockey league they've got. But now I have to be a Raiders fan. There you go.
Very good. I could see Anders Lindholm, who's actually Swedish. He said, I'm a football fan now. Okay. So I love it.
There you go, Anders.
Okay, so my final question before we go into this game, is there a guest that you would like to have in the trenches that you've yet to have the opportunity to sit down with?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's so many guests that I'd like to have, but who have I been trying to curtail lately? That maybe some people out there listening know somebody that knows somebody that wants to get them on. I think I was just thinking about this morning. I'd love to have Nikki on, Nikki Sixx. I think he'd be because he has some great stories. Because I found myself yesterday watching Motley Crue live from Russia, 1989, that outdoor festival that they did. I think the one where Tommy Lee punched Doc McGee, famous sort of show, but it was, or maybe it was later, I'm not sure, but it was 1989. They're playing Russia, no backing tracks, no tapes, nothing, there was nothing that was overdubbed, and it just sounded so killer. And it sounded just so raw and energetic. And I'd love to talk about those earlier sort of days of Motley. And like I said, I've been so lucky to have a lot of the guitar guys that I really appreciate and look up to on. I've had Steve Stevens on as well, David Johnstone, guitarist of Elton John, and
wow.
also with Alice. Plus, I've had some of the great Alice Cooper band members on, all the band, pretty much everybody in the current lineup, and as well as some of the classic guys, Dennis Dunaway. I mean, so Robin Zander, look at that. That's a very good suggestion. I've had Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick on my podcast, which I'm very proud of. You can go check out those episodes. But I guess, Brian May would be a bucket list guy to have on. I think it'd be great. Peter Frampton would be another one. He would be another guy that I'd like to have on before he decides not to do interviews anymore or anything like that. And who hasn't been on my podcast yet? The only guy yet in the band? Alice Cooper. He'd be a good one.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I had Alice's wife on, Cheryl Cooper. She was really great interview. And like I said, I've had Alice's assistant, Kyler, was on. So I've been, going all around, getting every single one down and say, so then when I do ask him to actually come on the show, he'll like, well, why don't you no, you've already had him. Why don't you no, you've already had him on. Why don't you so he'll have no excuses.
Fair enough. All right. So we have a game, Ryan. This is a game of Would You Rather. There's no wrong answers. And if you want to give us your reasoning behind the answers, that's great. If you don't, that's your prerogative. So we're going to bring up the graphics right now. Danica is going to read the first one.
All right. Would you rather play on the moon or travel back in time and play Woodstock?
Easy. Woodstock. Why would you want to play on the moon? It's like for like a bunch of moon rocks? You're going to play
say that you did.
Yeah, say that you did. Right? And then you play a little golf after. I don't know.
Maybe I could do like some Pink Floyd songs and play on the dark side of the moon. But
we go.
You know what? We just played Woodstock last year? Maybe it was the year before. We did a gig where Woodstock was at. And so they drove us to where the original Woodstock was in these golf carts because we played this amphitheater. And it was really interesting to see, that field of where all this craziness happened, because it was just, at this point, it's just a field, but they were saying that like, this is where all the electrical wires were, we were very lucky that there wasn't, more death and destruction, because apparently there was like live electrical wires that were being like, just running across the field that could have at any time, once, the bad weather started hitting, could have like started just electrocuting people left and right. So the fact that as few people were injured in the original Woodstock as it was kind of a miracle in itself. But I definitely play Woodstock before the moon.
All right, Woodstock it is. All right, here's the next one. Would you rather play an entire set out of tune or play a set with the monitor half a beat behind? Oh God, I'm so sorry for asking. I'm so sorry.
No, I think I've done both already. So it's kind of like, it's torturous one way or another. Because I do tend to say that I play a lot of wrong notes, but they're always in tune. So because I do love to be in tune, even if I make some mistakes during the set. So I guess I would have to play a set with a monitor half a beat behind, although it would be pretty, pretty grim. It wouldn't be as grim as playing out of tune, because I mean, the look on my face when I'm handed a guitar out of tune, I don't think anyone wants to see that look, and I apologize in advance to my guitar tech. Before any tour starts, I always apologize to Warren, saying, I'm sorry of the way I will probably react at least once or twice during this tour. And he looks at me, whatever, Roxie. Because I do tend to get a little bit excited in the heat of the moment, which is I'm working on. I've been working on in the live sense. So there you go.
Right.
Play a set with a monitor half a beat behind.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right, next one. Would you rather eat lutefisk with every meal or eat lingonberry with every meal?
Oh, easy. Lingonberry. You got to eat lingonberry. I would actually, that's a choice. That's not a bad choice to have lingonberry every single meal.
Great.
It goes with everything.
What is it?
Okay, put it this way. Yeah, lingonberry is it's basically like a high-class strawberry jam. And it kind of goes with everything because it goes with meatballs as it goes with pancakes.
Yeah.
All right. So in the sense that lingonberry goes with everything, lutefisk goes with nothing.
Yeah, lutefisk is horrific in my opinion. But lingonberry, I can absolutely eat with anything.
Okay.
The only thing that could be worse than lutefisk is this thing called strömming, which is basically rotted fish in a can that I think they rot it, so it's and then they can it, and then it just gets the more rotten it gets. Apparently, like when you open the can, you're usually going to heave if you've never had it. If you're not, I guess it's such an acquired taste that if you basically open the can, it can make you hurl.
Oh,
so
cute.
So that's So that I wouldn't want every meal either. So lingonberry.
What are your thoughts about licorice? Since I know it's kind of a staple.
Yeah, I hate black licorice. Can't licorice. Yeah, isn't that what they call it? Licorice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Licorice. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a guy. Never been any sort of people like red vines. Coop is a big red vine guy. He loves the red vines. He'll go to a movie and just like, buy a whole thing of red vine licorice and popcorn with extra butter and salt. And that's his diet, folks. That's what makes him so healthy. I don't know. He really is like the picture of health. When you see him on stage, he's like healthiest looking guy. And, who would have thought it's red vines and buttered popcorn. But I've never been a licorice guy one way or another. But oddly enough, I love what's sambuca. I think sambuca and what's the other stuff from Greece? I think it's called it's kind of a licorice flavored anise.
There's oh my god, the one with that gives you the green cherry.
Oh, it's a Greek.
Absinthe? What?
Yeah, absinthe is
Is it okay? The only time I really drank absinthe was with Marilyn Manson. Back when we did a tour with Marilyn Manson, he would drink absinthe every day amongst a bunch of other stuff. But he had some really high grade absinthe. I think he got his from Romania or somewhere, Transylvania.
As you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was actually quite good.
One of my least favorite drinks on the planet, and of course my husband is the one in the comments that brought this up, but Malort, which is Swedish liqueur. And it is, if you live in Chicago, it is a rite of passage that you have to drink a shot of Malort when you arrive. It's horrific. And of course my husband loves it.
I don't know about, but it was ouzo that I was thinking about, the other drink that that has that sort of licorice feel. I don't mind ouzo. I don't mind sambuca, but yeah, this Malort Malort sounds like a bunch of malarkey. If you ask me.
All right. Here's the next one. Would you rather play only with a distortion pedal or only with a wah pedal?
Only with the distortion. Easy. Yeah, there's too many. I think for whatever reason, a wah pedal, it keeps you stationary and keeps you in your place unless you have so much, cash where you can put your wah-wahs all over the stage. Like you can have separate wah-wah pedals for the same thing. And that's what Slash used to do with his live show. He'll have a wah-wah pedal, on stage left and one stage right and this and that. So, and he really, he knows how to play it as an instrument. The thing is, for me, I've always played it as an effect, not so much as an instrument. There's certain guys that know how to play a wah-wah pedal and use a wah-wah pedal. I think, maybe at one point my System 12 guitar method should incorporate one of these, sort of wah-wah school of engineering and get like a specialist and that actually teaches how to play wah. I think Orianthe was really good at playing wah. She could really make it feel, for the rest of us, I think we just make it sound like a 70s porno soundtrack. And we're happy with that, Yeah, exactly. We're happy with that. But distortion is the bread and butter of rock and roll. So you might as well just play a distortion.
Heck yeah. All right, here's the next one. Danica.
Would you rather, when you're on tour, only have one change of clothes with you or have to drive yourself to every gig?
I basically do only have one change of clothes, so that's that fits right into my
Very
lifestyle.
reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people when I start a tour, I say, "Do you like this pair of pants?" And they go, "Yeah, they're pretty cool." I go, "Get used to them. I was going to wear them every single day, because why not? You know,
You
I mean,
Comfort
the
is
only
comfort.
on the road, the only one that you really have to live with, like at least we're luckily in, you're in your own hotel room. The only one that you really have to impress or be happy with or sort of put up the scent of is yourself. You get your own hotel room. You can take, so if your clothes are disgusting, at least they're only disgusting to you. You don't,
That's fair.
or
you
all
don't
the
have-
people meeting you before the gig. So
Right.
know.
Well,
parking
well,
lot.
then that turns into like a musk. Doesn't that turn into like, oh wow, he had a very Lenny Kravitz musk to him?
Yes, when I think Lenny Kravitz. All right, here's the next one. Would you rather make a holiday album with Lady Gaga or make a holiday album with Dave Grohl?
Dude, I would do anything to make any album with Dave Grohl.
same.
Because he's like one of my favorite musicians. I feel he's like I said, from how I know him, I kind of just know him like, hey, Dave, oh, hey, what's happening? Alice Cooper guy, it's like, I mean, we're very casual. A lot of people might say, oh, my good friend, Dave Grohl. No, we've been able to hang with him and sit in the same sort of presence as him, but it's not like we're not DMing each other back and forth, but ever given the chance, I would kill to do some sort of recording or some sort of project with Dave Grohl, because I really think he's not just funny, he's actually does he makes music for the right reasons. He always does something that's a bit innovative. I'm not sure if you saw that show that he had on a couple of years ago where they made an album from all these different studios all around the US and they recorded it, and it was such a great show. It was such a great TV show. And I just like what he does, and his videos are funny as shit. And,
Right.
he gets the musicians in his band are all solid. Nobody's like, this flash crazy ass shredder, this or that. They probably can do all that stuff, but they're just solid. They write the parts, they play the parts, and everything sort of revolves around the song. Even the drummer, who's probably the most technical, wizard of everyone, because he's the one that's sort of, I guess, on par with Dave Grohl as far as drums. The two of them together, they just make this great combination. And but like I said, the whole band is great. And if I could, if there's any chance that Dave Grohl ever needs a fifth guitar player, I'm right there.
He's watching right now.
Yeah. How many guitar players does he have now at this point? I mean, he just keep growing.
Like 4 in rotation.
4 in rotation, and then he'll get like a random teenager kid that knows how to play better than all of them at least once a show, and then they'll be in the band for a while. So yeah, I'll be on the roster. I have no problem being on the bench if there's a chance for the call.
Well, once you get that call, let me know. Tell him that I'm available for backing vocals whenever he needs it. So
there you go. I hear the call. Isn't there a song called "The Call"?
Yes.
I hear the call. Yeah, there it goes.
All right, we have 2 more. Danica, you want to read the next one?
Yep.
Let's do it. Yep. Would you rather spend every winter in Lapland or jump in the Baltic every time it rains?
Wow, those are very Swedish sort of. Yeah, those nice Google pics, or
Thanks, Shutterstock. No.
Jump in the Baltic probably, because it is kind of fun to jump in the cold. It's really refreshing. It does give you it gives you a little bit of a cool like energy boost when you jump into the Baltic or jump into any sort of any pool in Sweden is freezing like that. So, I've never been in a heated pool in Sweden. So just know that I don't think those exist. So, even the sort of public pools are it's a little bit cold, So yeah. And I'm done with the winters in Lapland. I'm from California. Again, my wife, Cape Town. We're looking forward to the sun, When we retire, it won't be Florida. It'll be even farther south.
I was going to say, I'm in Miami. It's sunny-ish today. I don't know. All right. So here's the final one. Would you rather put your head in the guillotine or wear the Frank and Alice outfit?
Wow. They're both going to cause back problems. They truly do. We actually had a couple techs that actually had to retire from wearing the Frank and Alice outfit because it gave them back problems and neck problems. And then I've seen Alice, for years and years have to put his head in that guillotine. Wow, that's a really, death by, two different miserable ways. I suppose the Frank and Alice would be fun because I've never been in that outfit, and I would love to go in it, during the show because you could be someone else. And there's a few people that could actually pull it off as great as Kyler Clark. I'm giving Kyler Clark full name drop recognition for the Frank and Alice sort of. Because he can literally sprint in it. I don't know if you've ever seen how big the friggin' feet are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, bigger,
Oh, yeah.
like twice as big as Shaquille O'Neal's feet, and or maybe the same size. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's so much fun to watch him perform and turn this sort of basically bigger than life puppet into something that really is entertaining to see. So yeah, I'd try the Frank and Alice.
So Nita was telling us that she put on one foot and it was so smelly that was the end of it for her. But she had a foot in the Frank and Alice outfit.
She chose the guillotine.
Yeah, but Nita, again, in her defense, she does wear more than one change of clothes per tour. So I mean that I would only bring one change of clothes per tour. Probably wouldn't smell so bad.
Fantastic. In the Musk with Ryan Roxie. All right. So before we wrap this up, thank you so much once again. This has flown by, but we wanted to wish you a very slightly early happy birthday. So
Thank you
happy
very much.
birthday.
That's really cool. It's coming up on Tuesday. We're doing a best of episode on Tuesday where we're going to invite a bunch of the RGA sort of team and invites a bunch of other, some of the diehards that have been supporting over the last year to come up and sort of hopefully come on screen. We'll see how much time we have, but I think the idea is we're gonna, pick some of our best clips of what we have as a favorite clip from this last year, whether it was my Sunday live stream Sunday show or whether it's one of the over 51 at this point or 52 episodes of In the Trenches. So we have a lot to choose from, and there's been a lot of really, really silly, ridiculous, very satisfying moments, and so I'm looking forward to celebrating that on Tuesday.
Awesome. And before we do wrap this up, is there any final thoughts you want to leave us with here today?
Well, hopefully there are some people that have not heard of the System 12 guitar method and are thinking about, I'd like to start playing guitar. Because if you want to start playing guitar, you can go on to my website and we just give the first lesson away to see if you like it, see if you like the tech and all that kind of stuff, the way we do it involved. And the way you do that is you go to ryanroxie.com/system12 and you can check it out for free. And if you like it, then join up and we start this System 12-week challenge. Basically, as soon as I get off on this podcast, I'm going to post up my first video for it and we're on our way.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
Well, Yeah.
And thanks to everybody that's been in the chat. They've been, they're diehards. They've been great. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening for me and Saturday morning for you guys. It's been a good talk. I really enjoyed the questions, and your backdrop reminds me of a bit of. I have a music video called Big Rock Show. It reminds me of that actual set. Yeah. Our guy Gustav Kromfeld that does all our lyric videos, you must have teamed up with him when you designed your set.
Secretly.
That looks
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, we're going to go ahead and let everybody know about our next upcoming guests for the coming weeks. So coming up this Tuesday, the 1st, we've got actor Kevin McNally. Then on Thursday, December 3rd, we've got wrestler Gangrel. On the following Tuesday, we've got Josh Segarra, the actor, and Hurricane Helms, the wrestler. And then on Thursday, the 10th, we have bassists Matt Riley and Derek Frank from Separate Things. And then on Tuesday, December 12th, we have Rashad Santiago and Rick Prince, which we're so excited. They're both from Face Off. They're amazing makeup artists.
And special effects. And I guess that's what we got. And Ryan, we have to do this again sometime. I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
It's been a really fun conversation. Thank you, Danica. Thank you, kid.
Thank you.
Is it Danica or Donica?
That's right.
Danica.
Okay. Danica. All right. And thank you, kid. It's been really, really fun to talk with you both. And I'd love to come back on sometime.
All right, we're going to hold you to that. Well, happy early birthday. And I guess we'll see you guys real soon. Be safe, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for hanging out.
Au revoir.